You saved money. You did what every financial advisor, parent, and government brochure told you to do. You didn't spend it. You didn't gamble it. You didn't waste it. You parked it somewhere safe. And yet, part of it vanished. Not stolen, not scammed, not misclicked. Dissolved. Quietly. Legally. Every single year. This is the invisible tax you pay every time you save money. And almost no one talks about it like a tax. Because taxes are supposed to be obvious. They come with forms and deadlines and political fights. This one doesn't. It just waits. Right now matters because saving has never been more confusing. Rates are up, markets feel fragile, prices keep climbing, and everyone keeps asking the same question. Where is my money safest? The uncomfortable answer is there is no neutral place. Let's start with a simple story. Imagine you put $10,000 in a savings account. You're not chasing returns, you just want safety. Your bank pays you 1% interest. Sounds fine. But inflation is running at 4%. That means the price of everything you buy is rising 4 times faster than your money is growing. So after 1 year, your account says $10,100. But the real buying power of that money is now closer to $9,700. Nothing was taken out of your account, yet you lost money. That loss has a name. It just doesn't show up on your statement. Inflation doesn't feel like a tax. It feels like prices being annoying. But functionally, it works like one. It quietly transfers value away from people who hold cash and fixed savings, and toward people who borrow and spend. And that's not a bug. That's the design. Here's how the system actually works. Money isn't just created by printing. It's created by lending. When banks issue loans, when governments run deficits, when central banks inject liquidity, new money enters the system, but the amount of real goods doesn't increase at the same speed. So each unit of money represents a slightly smaller slice of the economy. That shrinkage is inflation. Now here's the part most people miss. Who feels it first? Not asset owners, not borrowers, not big institutions. It hits savers. People who delay consumption, people who hold cash, people who believe money should stay the same value over time. They are paying for the system to keep moving. Let's make it concrete. Say inflation averages 3% a year. That sounds small, but over 20 years, your money loses about 45% of its purchasing power. Half your value gone, without a single tax bill. And this is where the irony shows up. Governments warn about reckless spending, then run permanent deficits. Banks warn about personal debt, then profit from issuing it. Central banks promise price stability, then target inflation on purpose, usually around 2%, which sounds small until you realize it's a guaranteed permanent reduction in cash value. 2% forever. No vote, no opt-out, just policy. And to be fair, there are reasons. Deflation, falling prices, makes people hoard money. Hoarding freezes economies. Debt becomes harder to repay. Unemployment rises. So inflation is the chosen poison, but someone still pays. And that someone is often the person trying to be safe. This is where the hype and reality split. Public hype says saving is responsible. Reality says saving is fragile. Public hype says cash is security. Reality says cash is melting. Public hype says inflation helps workers. Reality says only if wages keep up. And wages rarely do. So what happens? Asset prices rise. Stocks, real estate, anything that can outrun inflation. People who already own assets get protection. People who don't fall behind. Not dramatically, gradually, which is worse because it's harder to see. Think about a worker who saves a portion of each paycheck, not investing, just storing value. They're told they're doing the right thing. But inflation quietly transfers part of their future purchasing power to the present economy. They are subsidizing borrowers. They are subsidizing debtors. They are subsidizing the system's momentum without being asked. That's the invisible tax, not collected by a revenue agency, collected by time. And the system depends on it. If everyone stopped spending and just saved, growth would stall, debt would strain, governments would struggle to fund themselves. So inflation becomes the background pressure that keeps money moving, a slow conveyor belt. Now zoom out. Over decades, this changes behavior. People chase yield. People speculate. People move from safe to risky assets, not because they're greedy, but because standing still is punished. Cash becomes a liability. Risk becomes a necessity, which means financial stability becomes dependent on rising markets, not productivity, not wages, prices. And when that breaks, crashes feel sudden, but they were set up by years of quiet erosion. Here's the subtle absurdity. We talk about earning interest on savings, but most of the time, you're just losing slower. If inflation is 3% and your account earns 3%, you didn't grow. You treaded water. And after tax, you sank. So when people say, at least your money is growing, they usually mean the number is growing, not the power of it. The system measures in numbers. Life is paid for in purchasing power. Those are not the same thing. This also explains why financial advice feels contradictory. One voice says, emergency fund in cash. Another says, don't let cash sit. Both are right, because safety and value are not aligned. Safety means stability. Value means growth. Inflation drives a wedge between them. So every saver faces a choice: risk losing money slowly or risk losing money suddenly. Neither is neutral. And here's the part that's hardest to accept. There is no return to a world where money simply holds its value. Not in a debt-based system, not in a growth-driven economy, not in a political system that promises more than it collects. Inflation is the compromise. It spreads the cost quietly instead of loudly. No riots over decimals, no protests over percentages, just fewer groceries later. So when prices rise and savings feel smaller, that's not mismanagement. That's the system doing exactly what it was built to do: move money forward, reward spending, punish stasis. And you, the saver, are caught in between. Not wrong, just exposed. So next time you hear, just put it in a savings account, what they really mean is accept a slow leak. Because the invisible tax doesn't care about your discipline. It doesn't care about your patience. It doesn't care about your plans. It only cares that money keeps flowing. And here's the final uncomfortable thought. If the safest thing in the system is guaranteed to lose value, then safety itself is an illusion. Not because the bank will fail, but because time will. So the real question isn't, how do I save? It's, in a system that quietly erodes still money, what does it actually mean to be financially secure?